All right, can you hear me all right?
I think so. I've been messing around with the stream audio. I'm unsure if people can hear me and if they can hear you on the stream.
I guess we will find out the hard way.
So I think this is the third game Odd Ritter or Alrathians played against Power Call today.
Really, that's weird.
Yeah, that's the amazingness of Challenge. Apparently, it just really likes putting the same people against each other. I've heard the same complaint at local game events.
So they definitely know what each of them has in their decks. Um, I think Vader Raider kind of has the edge here just by nature of being so bursty. But I definitely don't think Luke can be counted out, especially considering he started with these two shields.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was messing around with the settings to see if who won the role. If Power Call won and decided to take the shields and let Elrathian go first, or if it was the other way around.
Actually, it looks like I think the Luke team went
Oh
first,
yeah,
just because he has frozen wastes, and I assume that wasn't
and the Jedi robes
Vader
must have
Raider.
been the two starting shields.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Not a bad start for the Luke side.
Yeah, but Vader Raider's got those two holocrons, and as long as he draws into something, I think there's going to be a bit of a steamroll here.
Yeah, that is just an unfortunate, unfortunate opening hand for your opponent. You guys are gonna see a little bit of mini bar pop up here for a minute.
I'm actually really curious what kind of Luke Bar deck this guy's running, just because there's like two different like mindsets when it comes to Luke Bar. One is the very super aggro focused Luke Bar that's just like I'm gonna put everything on Luke and hope he doesn't die. And then there's sort of the more defensive Luke Bar that's kind of like I'm gonna put some stuff on Luke and put some stuff on Akbar, like promotions and stuff, and just try to keep Luke alive for a long enough period of time that I'll eventually run my opponent down.
I've had very little success with Luke Bar. I think after the Knights of Ren podcast, I very excitedly put together that deck because I actually had all of that product. Even in a time when there wasn't very much product out there, I just luckily had pulled enough to put that deck together, and then just got torn apart at local events. Um, and I don't know why, but I just have not seen Luke Akbar in the Portland area. And that's the only time I've seen that deck in event was when I took it and then got crushed.
Yeah, it can be rough. Like there's not as many. Um, like obviously Akbar doesn't really do anything by himself, whereas the Raider kind of has holocrons that can be equipped to him, and his sides are generally pretty good for damage. Whereas Akbar is just like, I focus Luke's stuff to damage and hope for the best.
This timer does not want to cooperate with me.
So is this best of three on 90 minutes, or what are we doing for the cut here?
Yes, best of three, 90 minutes is the simple structure. I actually think that's the advanced structure as well.
Cool, cool. So Odd Ritter has gotten two special sides on his holocron, and that's a little bit scary right now. Even if he's not throwing out mind probes and force throws, it's just that economy of putting stuff out there for free that is really good. And that's a really unfortunate roll.
Is this right? Have they really not put any damage down besides taking away shields?
It looks like it.
Wow.
Both players are rolling very poorly damage wise. I'm actually really surprised he discarded that to reroll.
Yeah, that's a tough move, but that leadership with Akbar still alive and Luke having so little damage, that's just seems like the clutch card for this deck. To be getting rid of that
Yeah,
so early
exactly.
is interesting call.
So knowing that he's running leadership, I have to assume that there's like no promotions in this deck, and we're not going to see anything actually equipped to Akbar. But the Luke player is doing really a job of keeping control of the battlefield, which lets him use dug in and defensive position basically whenever he wants.
Yeah, if I'm reading this right, I think it was Oddritter that brought the Frozen Wastes.
Oh, really?
I'm having a hard time telling. Because I think this is the other battlefield up here over by the timer, and it's facing Power Call.
I think for Tabletop Simulator, the cards always, like when they come out, they initially face the red player, I want to say. I don't have promote abilities. Can you flip this over and see what this is?
The card by the timer?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I
Yeah,
think,
definitely called that wrong. That's definitely Luke's.
yeah. Oh, no, no. I'm pretty sure that's Outriders.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I want to say it is. I'm almost positive it is because I don't think he ran Frozen Wastes against me.
Hmm.
And man, those mine are not mind probes. Those holocrons are rolling really well for him.
Yeah, with 5 cards in hand, it's unlikely he's not having another ability in there to throw out. And 3 resources, definitely going to see that dice in the pool.
Yeah, even if he hasn't done a lot of damage to Luke right now, just having those cards on the board just means that you have more dice, and he's going to be eventually rolling something he can use. And this could be pretty devastating if it's a mind probe. Yeah, because Luke still needs to activate and draw an additional card.
Oh. I've actually been seeing decks in the local meta. The Vader Raiders have been dropping their expensive ability upgrades like Mind Probe, um, just for more consistency. The Sith Holocrons are there to put stuff out in case they hit, but otherwise, less expensive blue abilities, just so you can get them out more consistently with resources.
I guess it just depends on what you'd want to put in instead. Like I could see taking out a single mind probe for like a tech card, like a dodge or an intimidate or something like that.
Yeah, I've been seeing more immobilizes come in, and I think you and I just talked about, you know, is that a great upgrade? Is that a terrible upgrade? Um, and I think people debate that a lot.
I'm definitely in the it's a bad upgrade camp, just because like as an upgrade it doesn't ever necessarily win you the game. It just keeps you alive a little bit longer.
For me, yesterday it was definitely a good upgrade. Today it was a terrible upgrade.
Yeah. It's kind of like a win more card. Like it's really good if you just need an extra couple of shields or you're trying to remove your opponent's outs. But like when you're behind, a shield or two or blanking a die isn't necessarily going to keep you alive.
So we just saw 4 range damage come from the Vader Raider onto Luke. It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
Blasting
definitely not
away.
something you expect. It's looking dicey for Luke right now.
Yeah, this is grim. Luke Bar just completely loses steam once Luke is down, especially if Vader is up there with the full health that he has. There's just no way. Um,
Yeah, full
I
health and a mind probe against Akbar, like it's just not going to happen.
Damn, and I would put Raider versus Akbar. Raider 9 times out of 10 is gonna just destroy Akbar.
Oh yeah, for sure, especially with a holocron and a force choke.
That was a rough claim. That's why I really do not like playing with Frozen Wastes. I played with it consistently for about a month straight, and every single game I lost with my deck, I could pretty much blame my own battlefield, which I did not like.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to just take Mos Eisley Cantina and have a battlefield that nobody really wants to use. I mean, you can use it with a Hunger Down or a Holocron, but other than that, it doesn't feel bad when your opponent takes your battlefield.
Right, and I usually play Red Hero, so in the unlikely event that I wind up with my own battlefield, you can get some fun plays with saving a blaster from a soon to die Leia, so you can give it to Akbar or grab up a promotion, just because you can have that card draw the next round, or use the resource instead. So it's not terrible with that deck, but it never hurts you. Uh, Vader just rolling pretty hot.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke
There's,
is on the verge of death.
there's just really nothing wrong with any of those dice that just got rolled by Vader.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I think this is sort of like really indicative of the major power difference between villains and heroes decks. Like you see, the Luke player is doing a lot of field medics and dug-ins and Jedi robes, whereas the Vader Raider is just like hitting him in the face, using these holocrons for economy, and ending the game pretty swiftly by taking Luke out so quickly.
And just the disparity between Luke's ability and Vader's ability. Drawing a card is not as powerful as forcing your opponent to discard a card. Um, if we look at the discard pile, there's what 5 more cards in the Luke pile than in the Vader pile. There's been a lot less re-rolling going on for Luke, and he's had to get rid of a lot of decent options.
Yeah, even considering the fact that Luke draws that extra card, so you don't necessarily have less cards. Vader's ability is just so good at removing your opponent's options.
And we see a lot of good cards in this discard pile that not all of them were paid for and used. A lot of them were just gotten rid of by Vader. I'm also terrified of hitting the delete key while having a promote ability in their match.
And at this point, I think it's just kind of a foregone conclusion. I don't know that there's an out for Akbar at this point, unless he has like, God, I don't know, 2 launch bays and gets some really nuts rolls.
Yeah, I hate being in this position because I never want to concede a match until it's down to like that last action where it's definitely going to be a loss. But playing through this is just it's also rough. Um, if if Power Call gets just the most amazing rolls in the world, he can do 4 damage a round every round with what he's got right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I think in the tournament setting, understandably this is casual, so it's like, yeah, let's play out the game. But if you're in a situation where you've got that 90-minute timer, and I think you just no mercy for the game actually. Oh no, not quite. But when you have the timer, you kind of just have to roll with the losses and understand that you're on a time limit and see if you can come back for the next couple of games.
So definitely worried about cheating playing in a like full on black spectator mode with showing hands and everything. So the I think the default Twitch delay is only 20 seconds. Dug in, one of my favorite red cards for hero and for villain. Just so mean to.
Yeah, so good. Feels so great whenever you roll that out or play that out, and your opponent's like, "Oh, now I have 3 more health to deal with." I mean, at this point, it might even be possible for Vader to deck the Luke.
That's true. He's got discard on the Mind Probe and a little bit of discard on that Force Choke.
And the rolls just aren't coming in for Akbar. Use the Force is such a weird card because I feel like when you're playing the blue against blue, it's almost always used to counteract somebody else's use the Force because it's so slow.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it leaving the meta here in Portland.
But I mean, when you're in Outrider's position and you can just use the Force and not really worry about how slow it is, it works for closing out games. It definitely doesn't help though that I don't think that Force throw came up as special for the Luke once. Um, and that sort of really helps to swing the tempo, especially considering the Vader didn't get his Force throw and didn't get his Mind Probe until a little bit later. I think going into game two, the player really needs to look towards like a really nutty leadership play, and hopefully roll just a little bit better with Luke.
Yeah, I mean, technically his deck can take down Vader in round two
Yeah, for sure. It's
fairly
definitely got the
consistently,
skill.
but it's Auditor has to pull no control and Luke has to roll very hot.
I also don't think we saw an all in from the Luke Bar player.
So people out there watching the stream, how's the camera angle right now?
Oh wow, Odd threw back everything for the reroll or mulligan.
That is rough. So is it tournament official that the loser of that first round chooses the battlefield for the second game?
I don't think it's actually anywhere in the rules. I'll have to double check, but I think that's what a lot of people have been doing. I know that's how it's always worked locally in my meta, and most of the tournaments I've played online have done it as well. Can pull up the rules though and double check that.
Adam G in the Twitch stream is saying that it's in the tournament regulations.
Okay, cool.
I'd be pretty upset if it wasn't. There's just so many decks that really do synergize with their battlefield, and they've got such strong dice that they can usually take it when you roll for it.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to get a second win that way. It looked like Power Call also discarded all of his cards for the mulligan. So it's going to be interesting to see what both these players have in their hands.
Oh, that is
Oh
just,
my god, that's a brutal start.
yeah. Father hates son.
And it's also really unfortunate that Power Call doesn't appear to have any upgrades in his hand, or at least none that he's willing to play out. If that's the case, I'd probably look for him to get rid of or discard most of his hand, looking for upgrades on Luke. Assuming he doesn't have something that he's especially fond of, or he doesn't have a defensive position or a dug-in that he can claim the battlefield for.
Yeah, I agree. At this point, I would just start discarding those cards to dig and find some sides and then get some upgrades in your hand for the next turn.
And on that note, I actually wouldn't mind taking the 2 resources here just to ramp up for the next turn and hopefully equip some things to Luke.
And Oddritter making that almost a
Oh
mute
wow,
point on
yeah.
that play. Yeah, that was a really good roll on his side. So yeah, and I think now I would discard and reroll all 3.
Both players starting with a pretty useless deflect first turn.
Much better.
Yeah, that's a really good roll.
So isolation. Yep, isolation. But still good to get that out of his hand, the isolation out on round 1. Um, I think at this point I'd probably claim and not do the Akbar damage.
I think it's a weird situation because if you claim, he rolls the Tuscan, but if you don't,
Oh wow, yes, they had done so much stuff I didn't even realize that Tuscan hasn't rolled out yet.
not having the resources here really hurts. I definitely think he just passes and waits for the Tuscan to come out.
Yep. Yeah, I think that was smart by Oddritter to not roll the Tuscan because he could be sitting on, dug-ins, which would be pretty
Yeah,
painful.
exactly.
And I don't know if I haven't looked at his deck, but defensive position could be just really really good against this Vader deck. Vader having what 3 sides that can be hit by defensive position.
Especially if he rolls melee damage, it feels so good. And Luke Bar really needs to use these resources. Otherwise, I think Godrider is just gonna steal them.
Akbar
I actually
with a
really like the
stick.
decision to put Ray's staff onto Akbar. And Vader is just rolling particularly well today, unfortunately. Ray Staff has the potential to do work here with the special side.
I feel like with the three dice decks, that's one of Vader Raider's strongest matchups just because the electroshocks, the isolation, they just, for one cost, they just do so much work.
Yeah, it's really oppressive. And the reason Vader Raider doesn't really suffer so much from that is because it's constantly playing upgrades. You know, your holocrons, your force throws, your mind probes, like those are all really good dice. Whereas you look over at the Luke bar and it's like I've got a Jedi robes, a survival gear, a raised staff, which they're decent cards in their own right, but you know they're not as brutal as having a force throw that you get for free. Oh nope, that doesn't get removed. Oop, my bad.
They did it very quickly.
Yeah. And this is, I think, the problem I have with Jedi Robes as a card. Um, it feels okay to play it on turn one, obviously, because you get the two shields. But and all the subsequent turns, it's not only like an expensive and bad die; it only gives you one shield.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that he in his hand he has one with a force. And the Jedi robes are just down there to be a replacement for one with the Force if Luke can live till this next round.
I certainly hope that's the case.
Because that Jedi robes, I think they're really impressive with Rey. Because she's got that action economy. But like you're saying, on anybody else, it's just really unimpressive.
Especially if you're running a Ray deck that has the ambush suite with the what's it called, holdout blaster. Jedi Robes is essentially just there to throw a holdout blaster onto and overwrite it.
Yeah, that's a such a mean play. So Luke's sitting at 10, and at least one damage left out on the table on the Vader Raider side. I guess Luke at 11. So unless he can do something about that force training, that's Luke's last round.
Yeah, even if he has the one with the force, there's not really much he can do here, unfortunately. I feel like we're seeing a very good Vader Raider game and a very poor Luke Bar game, which isn't an issue with the players, obviously. But I don't feel like the Luke Bar player drawed into a lot of the things that he wanted.
Yeah, and with with cards like Force Strike, the Vader doesn't even have to roll that well.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Um,
You throw a force strike, no mercy for focus or something like that. It's really rough, especially with the holocrons. And again, you're looking on the other side of the battlefield, and you've got Jedi robes and raised staff, and survival gear, and it's just like, well, things are a little bit unevenly matched. I definitely think Luke Bar had a chance, just not with the way things have been going for him presently. Yeah, I agree with GameSlayer 989. Luke Bar definitely feels like it has the advantage with the focus sides, but after or just based on the way he's been rolling and what he's been playing, I don't feel like he quite had a chance this game, and maybe not even in the previous game. I don't think Akbar has rolled the focus side the entire time, which is just so rough.
and even with Akbar, I mean, he has a 1 in 6 chance of fixing 2 dice. The Tusken Raider has a 1 in 6 chance of doing 3 damage, which feels pretty equal.
Yeah, but we definitely haven't seen any of like the cool Luke Bar stuff this game. There wasn't any all-in shenanigans. There's no one with the Force. I don't even think we saw a defensive position these last two games. The one opportunity we had for a leadership play was used for a reroll. Like it seems a lot worse than it actually is because it seems like these have been unfortunate games for the Luke Bar player.
Yeah, I was really hoping we could see just a really devastating leadership play.
I'm apprehensive about the decision to go with the Frozen Wasteland. Um, I don't feel like either deck has a great deal that Rebel War Room activates, other than the Tusken Raiders one side for cost. And giving Vader those two shields, while it might not have made a difference in these couple of games, I feel like it might have made a big difference if we were really seeing a race here for damage.
I feel like Luke side is definitely going to be claiming first, and it can rush to that even with the Rebel War Room. And I would much rather have those 2 shields on Luke because he needs that health to stay in the game a little bit longer so that you can build up to those leadership plays and those one with the Force plays.
Right, and it would have been different if we saw like a defensive position and a dug in turn one. Like I definitely would have taken the battlefield if I had both of those cards and I thought I had a good chance of using them, but we didn't, and so I think it might have been a small mistake that sort of adds up. But again, the Luke Bar players have not having the greatest luck this game.
It's probably Odd Ritter's accent messing with him, putting the fear of Europeans into his head. 3 blanks and still 6 damage on the table,
So scary.
but no resources. I think I still use the staff at this point to get something away.
I think I just wait. I I think I just pass and wait until he uh, gets some resources or does something, because otherwise, I don't know. I just it's a weird position to be in.
Yeah, I think, well, with the one card in hand, I wish I was Black Spectator so I could see what
Yeah, I know.
Odd Ritter decided to
It
hold on
helps.
to.
Yeah.
Something good. And he just really wants to hit that Mind Probe special right away here.
Could have been a No Mercy.
So one thing I'm fuzzy on is the discard to reroll if you don't have any dice to reroll. That one's come up a few times at different game stores and nobody's had a good answer for it.
Um, yeah, I don't think my perspective on it is that it wouldn't be legal just because you're not actually doing anything.
Yeah, that's another thing that Lucas needs to clear up because the whole does it change the game state? Well, you have one fewer card in hand, so the game state's changed.
Right, yeah. I think that's one of the issues with Destiny right now is that there's a lot of rules clarifications that either don't make sense with the rules as they're written or haven't been very clearly gotten out to the community. Also, I agree with Game Slayer about the leadership. I when I was playing Luke Bar, I stopped running leadership because it just doesn't feel like an especially great card. Um, it feels situational. Like when it works, it works really well and it feels really good. But when you're in a situation where, or this specific situation where, you know, Luke doesn't have a lot of upgrades and your opponent is just bursting down, it always feels like a dead card. And I feel like it goes almost too all in with Luke because it makes it so that once Luke is dead, you know, Akbar can't do anything. I like putting stuff on Akbar and being comfortable with the idea of Luke going down after I've done a decent amount of damage, and then using Luke Bard to end the game, slowly but surely.
Yeah, I hope the hope somebody in the Portland area decides to pick up Luke Bar and start playing it in tournaments just so that we can see it around here. Besides my poor performance with it like 4 weeks ago. Again with that Mind Probe. Yep.
Yeah, that Mind Probe is doing work.
So I think that's game.
It's disappointing not to see the craziness that Luke Bar can put out with you know, doing 6 damage around with the 2 focus side and all in shenanigans and you know, anything with one with the force at all.
Yeah, you know, again, Dyson card game. So, you know, the cards he drew, you know, like you said, would have been a lot different if he had had those turn 1 Duggins and defensive stances, and Vader was rolling really hot at the beginning of each turn. Those would have really come in handy. So I wonder, are they shaking hands right now? It looks like there's some mouse clicking going back and forth.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think they might be discussing uh, the state of the game and what happened. Also, NMG says that the rule book says that you have to discard a card to reroll one or more dice in their dice pool, or a player has to discard to reroll one or more dice. So I guess technically you can't then.
Seeing if I can't find that same section.
All credit to Oddrider, though. I've played against him several times, not only today but in the last few weeks, and he runs his decks very efficiently. So while Luke Barr definitely had some troubles luck wise, I definitely think Oddrider closed it in because of his keen play.
Yeah, he definitely pilots decks well. So there is a little asterisk below the discarded reroll dice that says if there are no dice in their pool, they cannot discard a card from their hand to reroll.
Good to know. Good to know.
I do not know why we did not find that little bit locally. All right, I think that was it. So everybody listening, we're gonna switch over and see if we can't find the other semifinals match. I don't think I'll be able to stream it, because they probably have a closed table. But I'll check in on them and I'll post when the finals game will be up on the Twitch stream. Shouldn't be much longer than from now. If they're already finished, we'll get back here at 2:05. All right, we're back. I think we're back. Can you hear me, Lassie?
Yep.
Er,
Can you hear me all right?
yeah, so what's the correct pronunciation of your handle?
Lassie.
Lassie? Okay.
Oh shit. Never mind. Team chat does not work.
Okay.
You get to see my cards.
Oh, that's amazing.
Getting should be able to mute Tabletop Simulator and not be able to hear you guys talking on Tabletop Simulator.
We won't hear those sweet dice rolls.
I know it'll hurt.
I have an idea of how we could get around it, but like it's kind of silly.
Yeah, let's
And
just
we
do
could-
it like this. Those two can just mess around with themselves. It's up to, you know,
I mean, if they hear us talking,
it's their fault for not being convenient for us.
I mean, we're talking convenient. We should have already played.
Sweet. Yeah, alright. We're currently 1 minute 28 into this. Let's get going.
All right. So hopefully they can't hear me in game.
Yeah, I don't think they can hear you. Your microphone isn't going off. So seeing Luke Bar again is actually pretty exciting. Kylo Riggs, I played against myself, and his Poe Ray deck is pretty devastating. It's going to be interesting to see how things turn out.
If I had to put my money on it, I would go with Poe-Ray. Just how I've
Yeah, me
seen
too.
it played locally lately. It's just been pretty competitive.
Yeah, it's pretty devastating, especially now that he's got the Emperor's Throne Room. So it can be hard to come back from a nutty mind probe play, and Ray's action economy really helps him out. Binds All Things is a really good start for Luke Bar. Let's him get lots of upgrades onto Luke.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we saw that at all last game. I feel like we barely even saw any blue upgrades last game on the Luke side.
Yeah, I think we didn't see it Binds All Things, but we only saw one Force Throw. So it'll be interesting to see if Game Slayer can get some more stuff out with that. It Binds All Things. Ooh, that's a really good start.
Is he going to use focus to fix things?
Oh, that's interesting. I'm surprised he didn't go for the focus.
Did he just grab 3 damage?
Yeah, to Luke.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like he could have done 6 damage.
Yeah, 5 or 6 potentially, depending on what he wanted to flip things to, and especially because he's rerolling now, I'm a little bit surprised he didn't end up going for the focus play instead.
Yeah, I think that could have been 6 damage and an extra resource. So you'd have still wound up with 1 resource on the board.
I'm actually also surprised that he didn't keep the disrupt, especially looking at that it binds all things and the fact that Game Slayer kept his resources. A little bit surprised he didn't end up going for the disrupt just to interrupt the resources. But Game Slayer ends up playing a raised staff anyways. Um,
Yeah, it shows how bad I am at this game that it took me about a month playing it to realize how good disrupt and discard are.
yeah, for sure. Sometimes it doesn't work out quite like that. But when you get into a situation where you're looking at your opponent rolling a disrupt and you're like, oh man, if he if he gets rid of my resources, my entire turn is so messed up. Some people don't realize how much of an effect that can actually have on your opponent's game plan.
Now, last night I played a couple of matches against Jabba Dooku, and I felt like I never had resources. I had never had cards in hand, and there's just really it's really difficult to play through that.
So we're kind of seeing the effects of that one. I don't want to call it misplay, but that one decision on Kylo Riggs' part. Being able to use those two resources to get out the raised staff, and then it binds all things a one with the Force onto Luke, is a really good situation to be starting the second round with.
Yeah, getting that out by round one was great economy by our who was our left hand side by Game Slayer.
And we know that just based on conversations, that Game Slayer doesn't run leadership. So I think we'll be seeing him try to put like a promotion onto Akbar to try to get those focus sides going, and generally be more willing to commit onto upgrades for Akbar before Luke's even died.
Kind of sad that you say that Game Slayer said he's not running promotion because I just want to see it used, just one time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, though, when it's used, it's devastating. But sometimes, or at least from my perspective, a lot of the time, when you have it in your hand, it's a dead card just because Luke isn't really doing anything or doesn't have upgrades, and it's sometimes just too slow. But three focus on that one with the Force is a good start to the turn. Could potentially be seeing some all-in shenanigans going on here.
Yeah, with no resources, I can't think of anything that a Poe raid deck has that can really stop any of the dice that the Luke Akbar has out right now. And that focus dice just really does not even have 3 dice to fix at this point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
That's a
Game
good roll.
Slayer's rolled pretty well here.
Yeah. I would
Um,
definitely keep that resource and find the 3 damage on the Luke side probably.
I'm actually kind of curious what Kylo Riggs is running, because if he has a launch bay, my instinct here is to take all the resources and hope to play that next turn.
Yeah, Launch Bay, just another card that I don't see very often locally. So if I ever leave this happy little town, it's probably going to get played against me. I'm going to have no idea what hit me.
It's rough to get out there, but when it does, you've got those two range damage sides that you roll out at the beginning of the turn, and you're looking at 5 damage. I don't know if it's in this particular Luke Bar list, but I know that Game Slayer has in the past run a one of Launch Bay, because with Luke's ability, it can potentially do 6 damage. So it'll be interesting if we see that on his side of the board. I think he's gotten himself into an advantageous enough position, though, that he's probably not looking for that.
Oh, I love that card. So he just played a close quarters assault with 3 melee dice showing, so Po Ray has to discard all 3 cards in hand.
Yep, and then Akbar's ability triggers, doing a couple of damage. Oh wait, no, it looks like there was only 2 melee on the board. Kind of come to an interesting situation. The Luke Bar player has obviously taken a fair amount of damage, but he's in a position now where if he rolls decently enough, he can kill off that Ray and get rid of 3 upgrades. So unless Ray has like an ambush to start getting actions out here, things could go downhill for Po Ray.
This is where I want a dice odds calculator of, what are the odds of Luke rolling out that 5 damage he needs.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, here comes the ambush. Oh wow, okay, that's a huge swing.
Yeah, getting that 1 in the force out there to be used possibly twice this turn.
It's not a great roll, but it's serviceable. And if it forces Game Slayer to actually use his resources rather than roll out Luke before Po Ray can re-roll that force throw into a special side potentially.
Yeah, it's a tough call without seeing what he's got in hand. So we're seeing at least 4 damage. Oh, nope. Got it taken care of. I've yet to see a blue deck not run deflect with how blaster heavy the meta is right now.
Oh yeah, unless your opponent's Luke Bar or Vader Raider, everybody's running blasters. A little bit better. Force throw, I think he was really looking for that to come up as special, but post special can potentially throw a mind probe, which is still really good. Another force throw, which would also be good. But if he has nothing in his hand, that's a really unfortunate die side to come up.
Obi-Wan's Ghost just really does not want people to have resources this game.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's an interesting decision to just do the 1 damage. I think maybe he's got something in his hand for the post special. Maybe trying to hide the fact that he's got more damage than it looks like on board. We see the promotion onto Akbar, which once he rolls out, if that ends up getting the focus side, he focuses Akbar and then focuses 2 other dice, and it's potentially really strong.
Not the strong hit that I thought would be coming.
Yeah, no, I was expecting a mind probe or a force throw, but I suppose that works too.
Yeah, I really thought we'd see a mind probe just given how patiently he was waiting. So if you're in the stream and trying to figure out what is this the semifinals for, we had a tabletop simulator tournament today, started around 10 o'clock Pacific time. And this is something that I'll be running about once a month. This was kind of our dry run, just getting systems set up and whatnot, but in the future, there will be price support.
My instinct is almost to just claim the battlefield and throw the 2 focus into Luke, because that could be pretty devastating if he gets that off and doesn't have to use any rerolls for it. And I don't know that there's anything especially impactful that comes out of rerolling. Oh nope, it looks like it's Luke Barr's turn already, and that's kind of an inevitability.
Yeah, I think it was going to be 3 no matter what. I think I would have kept Luke out there as showing something that you wouldn't want to throw at him because he has so many cards to reroll, and just keep discarding until you get all that damage. Because Row, uh, Pore, 1 card in hand, no resources. They're not going to be able to stop you from just rerolling to find something amazing.
Yeah, that's true.
I still think this is a close game though. Luke very close to being gone. Uh, Poe does not really need to have upgrades on him to do devastating things.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, one with the force out there, there's a lot of things that can go right for the Poe player. And having another another holdout blaster is a good start to the turn. Oh wow.
Oh, even better. So I was about to say, he could have a lot of red cards in there that are just really effective with Poe. Hit and run, one of them. I don't know if this deck really runs defensive position and dug in, but I mean that can turn, Poe into a, never-ending champion. Just refuses to die.
And Luke finally gets taken out. That was a really impactful start to the round.
That was huge.
Hopefully, we're going to see Akbar shine a little bit here. I definitely think Game Slayer has made a very intelligent decision by making sure that Akbar is well taken care of once Luke leaves the field. You've got the one with the force and then the 2 melee upgrades that will allow him to do damage. But it is definitely looking in Poe's favor at this point.
Definitely a rough roll for Akbar.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Game Slayer is really going to want to look for the battlefield and dig through his deck for some defensive positions and dug-ins to help add to his survivability. Oh, and that's always awkward when the die lands like that.
That makes me happy. Um,
Game Slayer potentially has 6 damage on the board with that focus.
I think I would go for it.
Yeah, Poe doesn't have any resources, and even then, I don't think he has a lot of options to mitigate dice. Outside of defensive position, which obviously no resources. I think Game Slayer is just going to get the damage in.
He's looks like he's definitely holding on to a special. Um, Kylo just re-rolled when he had, the potential to do 3 damage.
Yeah, and if he's got 2 cards that he can special out with Poe, with the one special that's showing, and then by claiming the battlefield, that's going to be another pretty big swing in his favor.
That tournament timer always likes to turn on its face, and then I can never figure out how to get it back.
It's a rough beat. I'm kind of curious what Game Slayer has in his hand, because he opted not to discard to re-roll or play something, and just took the Mind Probe damage. It's looking dicey. The Poe player has had a lot of really impactful turns.
So Lassie, I'm on my official lunch break, so it's all you, buddy.
All right, take it easy.
I'll be here. I'll just be chewing a lot.
You don't think the viewers want to hear the smooth tones of you chewing on food? Could do your own chewing ASMR video. Come on, man.
I don't want people to know how amazing the food is here in Portland.
Good point. Good point. Don't want those tourists coming in.
No, yeah. Too many yummy noises are about to happen.
So again, another pretty good roll. He has the resources to throw that 4 damage into Akbar and then potentially throw something from his hand with the special. But defensive position will definitely do work here. And I think it's really important that Game Slayer took the opportunity to claim the battlefield and lose out on some of his ability to do things in the last round in order to get the battlefield and use the defensive position. Potentially, he has another one or dug in that he can use up in order to keep himself in this long enough to get some damage onto Poe. Okay, interesting decision to take the discard instead of the damage. I think Game Slayer is hoping to get rid of something good in the Poe player's hand. Hopefully, just get rid of some of the discard fodder that Poe can throw out with his special. Okay, so interesting decision. The discard ends up being irrelevant because Gameslayer's claiming the battlefield relatively early, so that he can use the lightsaber special, despite the fact that it was still on its die side. Just so again, defensive positions, Duggins, but the post special is really brutal, and it's gonna doesn't look like do anything this turn. We have actually seen a lot of stuff get thrown out by Poe, and both players are getting pretty low in their decks. But unfortunately, I still think Poe just has such a huge advantage right now because of the amount of health on board and just his more useful die sides. I definitely don't think this is the end of Akbar, though. There's definitely still potential for Duggins, defensive positions. I know at one point Game Slayer was running that launch bay that we mentioned earlier, and 3 focus side on one with the Force will do work. Oh wow! Oh yes, such a good defensive position. Gets rid of 4 dice, and really emphasizes why Game Slayer was pulling for the relatively early claim for the battlefield, so that he could use that effectively. Because that practically ended the Poe player's turn. Unfortunately, now that Poe has the battlefield, we're not going to be seeing another or any Duggan plays. And I believe both the field medics, I'm not actually promoted, so I can't see, but I believe both the field medics have already been used. So Akbar is pretty fragile with only 3 hit points. But if Akbar can roll out and do some work, it's potentially pretty easy to just win the game. He's looking for one of the 3 damage sides on his lightsaber and ray staff, or alternatively a damage side on the one with the Force. And a really bad roll from the Poe player is going to make things a little bit easier for Game Slayer. Okay, so that's close. That's 2 damage. Game Slayer still needs 1 more on top of that lightsaber special, and it's not unreasonable to be able to get that. Okay, so Duggan's actually going to put Game Slayer a little bit further back. But the all-in play will actually just win the game for him. With the additional 4 damage from the Ray staff and the Akbar, I think that is it. 3 to get rid of the shields and 2 from the specials. Yep, that is game. That was actually really close. That was a very exciting match, actually.
I cannot believe I missed Akbar rolling that.
that was pretty nuts. I'm actually a little bit shocked that Akbar ended up winning that one, because he was pretty far behind, and Poe really just needed to roll a couple of damage sides. And thankfully, we are getting an opportunity to see what Luke Bar can do when it doesn't roll and draw terribly.
Yeah, the Rays staff just did so much for Akbar. That was really impressive.
Right, and it really goes to show that when you're playing Luke Bar, if you completely underestimate Akbar and don't put anything on him or aren't willing to put upgrades onto him, you'll get in a position where you're just facing down an unupgraded Akbar versus a Poe, and you're just not going to win that matchup. But with that lightsaber and the Ray staff, it really worked out.
I think Ray's staff went as a very underappreciated card for a very long time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We see another full hand mulligan.
Which is always super super scary. All right, force training is not a bad start. It's got that focus side to help fix your dice. Throw Poe into special side so that it can do some damage. But when it rolls blank, it doesn't do much. I do think it's interesting that GameSlayer decided to go with his opponent's battlefield, presumably for the shields. It definitely shows that he feels that his deck has just as much benefits from using the special side on his dice as his opponent might. And I think with that in mind, we're going to see him try to claim the battlefield relatively quickly again to get that defensive position and the dug in, and get rid of it, the opportunity to play those cards for its opponent.
So I don't know that Emperor's Throne Room. This is one of those times where I usually take the shields, but with
Oh
like
no,
a
I'm
Vader
dumb.
Raider or a Poe, it's kind of scary.
uh,
Oh yeah, he
Poe
lost. He
Ray,
lost.
Poe Ray took his own battlefield.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, I'm still reeling from the fact that Akbar won that. I actually almost feel like you, with that force training special side, you take a resource and start the turn with 4 resources, and maybe just throw out a raw mind probe onto Ray. Oh, and that feels really bad to force misdirection off the damage.
And that was a just a mean force misdirection. This is definitely not the Luke that we saw in the other semifinals match. Um, consistently finding damage.
All right, it ducked out for a couple of seconds, so if you said something, I totally missed it.
Some pretty good banter going on just between myself and me.
Nice. Always good to talk to yourself. Builds character.
I was just saying that this Luke rolling completely differently than we saw in the last semifinals match, you know, finding those 3 damage sides consistently, finding focus consistently.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even just the having a little bit more confidence with Akbar, I think helps the rolls a little bit more. Throwing down the promotion and the force train onto him. I actually am a little bit surprised that Poe Ray isn't going after Akbar because of it. Just because getting rid of those 2 upgrades with only 9 hit points would put Luke pretty far behind.
My favorite red card.
Oh, it's so good. And definitely emphasizes why it's important for both of these players to go after the battlefield, not just because they want to resolve their special sides, but because um, it gives you the opportunity to just do some crazy things with Duggan and defensive position. Although Mind Probe does deal with those shields very well.
Yeah, I think you can blame Duggan for single-handedly making On the Hunt just a much more advantageous card to throw into a yellow deck.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even defensive stance, like when you have that card and your opponent has an on the hunt upgraded onto somebody, it doesn't feel very good to play.
I like the 2 discard play there. Got a Force Misdirection and a Lightsaber, it looks like. Which I think that's couldn't ask for a better discard.
Yeah, both really good cards. The Force Misdirection helps get rid of specials, helps get rid of Ray dice. It has a lot of potential. Oh, that's interesting. GameSlayer uses the focus side or special side to get a resource and do a damage rather than taking the shield. Um, I'm wondering if maybe he has a launch bay in his hand. I'd be really excited if we saw a launch bay this game.
Yeah, a lot of resources on both sides right now.
I'm actually a little bit surprised he's playing the force training under Ray because it looks like Luke Bar is going after Ray specifically, and that is one of the few blue cards that can actually go into Poe.
Always a fun situation, that. Here I would just re-roll those 2 dice.
Typically, I just like yank the die on the bottom and let it fall where it may, but this works as well. And that's a kind of a rough roll.
It's basically my experience with force training with Ray is they're always going to find their modified sides, no matter what you want.
Yeah, and then you end up sitting there with you know, plus 6 damage and nothing to add it to.
Oh,
Oh boy, that can be big.
so activating Luke here is scary. You know, that's 1 more damage for that Mind Probe.
We did see one get discarded already, so maybe Game Slayer is confident or at least comfortable with the idea of him not having that. I'd also be afraid of a defensive position, just getting rid of two of Luke's dice right off the bat. But eventually, you just gotta roll the dudes out there. Oof, that's actually a really good deflect. It might only be for one damage, and it might only be mitigating one damage, but it gets rid of that force throw die and makes it so that Game Slayer can't claim the battlefield and use the special side.
That's a really good point. I'd say Emperor's Throne Room's claim ability is the one that always catches me off guard the most.
Oh yeah, for sure. I actually, I lost to Kylo Riggs for that very same reason. There was a Emperor's Throne Room play that he saw that I didn't, and it was devastating. And it's hard to make sure you're keeping track of all the possibilities. Actually, a pretty good roll. That's 3 damage sitting out there.
So, Lassie, have we seen any field medics this game on the Luke Bar side?
We have not. I don't know why I can't search through things. I actually got promoted, but it's still not letting me search for whatever reason. I think I have to actually own the cards, maybe.
Nope, just a Duggan and the discarded Force Misdirection lightsaber. So, Luke has a lot of damage on him right. Oh, is he down? Oh, poor Luke.
Yes, that's rough. That's not very good. It looks like the lightsaber is discarded to do the 2 unblockable. My instinct is that this is really bad for Akbar. It's in a much worse situation than he was in before, and I don't know. No race staff or lightsaber to really push out the damage.
Or that one with the Force to really, fix Akbar dice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, that's spot of blue, right?
It is, as a matter of fact. Oh, it looks like they've realized it. I really don't know if he's running it, but I'm still crossing my fingers for that launch bay play for the win. But his outs are a lot of the same things that we saw before. I don't know if he's running 2 of them, but Game Slayer might have another lightsaber. He's got a race staff. I don't think he runs a Luke's lightsaber, so the options are a little bit smaller than he maybe wants them to be. At this point, one with the force throw, mind probe, anything like that is practically discard fodder.
Yeah, sitting on. So before he put the Ray Staff out, his max damage was 4 on a perfect roll.
Yeah, which never feels good.
Now he's edged it up to what, 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 damage on a perfect roll, which is a little bit better, but it's going to be 2 turns to do that and a resource.
if he can kill Ray here, he'll be in a really good position, and it actually looks
Ooh.
like that might be a possibility.
Yeah, he's got one too many promotion dice out there right now. Yeah, I'm going to put my money on it that we're going to see a third match.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. But that's what we said last time, and we were very surprised. Oh, I'm actually a little bit surprised he didn't flip the Ray staff to the 3 damage side.
Or the special, just to, hopefully defend against that Poe range damage. He's well within range of, Poe smacking him with that blaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, Emperor's Throne Room, if you had waited a little bit, you don't actually have to use a focus to get that.
Yeah, that was a very smart play, getting rid of that opportunity on his opponent's end. Ooh, that could be big. Nope, and he's just gonna reroll again.
Oh, the focus side of it.
Yep, and that will end the game. I actually thought he was gonna just overwrite it onto Ray, but that also definitely works as well. It's a very interesting card to include. When you do get to reroll all your dice, I guess it kind of feels good, but you're also typically either paying for 2 or deleting, overwriting an upgrade. I don't know, Comlink. I look at that card just in a vacuum, and I don't like it.
It's something that's found its way into my primary deck just for its defensive abilities, which I'd say it only gets play when it comes into my hand like half the time, and the other half it just gets discarded for a reroll on my side.
Yep, but I mean, if it's good, it's good, right? If it works, and if you're having success with it, I can't ding you on that one. But just my instinct when looking at that card is that I just don't want it in my deck. There's too many situations that come up that it doesn't feel impactful enough.
Yeah, what I found the way that you have to use it is either you have no resources, and you just have to overwrite a more useful upgrade to get that defensive reroll, or else bad things are going to happen. Or if you have the resources for it, it's just something that immediately gets overwritten once you have a better upgrade to put out there. But it should never enter the table unless you're re-rolling a lot of good stuff on your opponent's side.
So pretty interesting start actually, with uh, Luke taking his own battlefield and letting Poe have the shields, but getting out a dug in. Curious to see if Kylo Riggs ends up taking those resources. I think my instinct, right or wrong, is always to just take the resources when I can get them. rather than wasting an additional card on rerolls, unless it's something that I'm going to discard at the end of the turn. I'm really comfortable with just gaining those resources and having it to spend on upgrades for the next turn.
Was not expecting that.
Yeah, I think he's got something he wants to play with It Binds All Things. Potentially claim, throw down a lightsaber or a force throw. I get the impression Game Slayer's in the same camp as I am. Rather than taking the 3 damage, take the resource and potentially do even more damage and kind of snowball with additional upgrades as the turns go on. All right, interesting. So he doesn't end up playing anything. He does, however, get a field medic out and discard that, and obviously get an additional card for the next turn.
That's a scary array.
Yeah, it is.
That's
It's,
I mean, even just the 5 range damage that she has now is, she's going to be swinging for so much.
rolling like that generally doesn't let you swing for much, but I mean, even discarding 2 cards at random, could grab a dug in, a defensive position, and there's still a threat on the board of that Mind Probe coming out after Luke has drawn a card.
It is a bit refreshing that neither of our semifinals matches included a Django.
Yes, I definitely agree. I was very excited about that.
Now, I did play 3 Djangos in the tournament earlier today.
Oh, did you really?
Actually, that's a lie. I played 3 Ballas. There was only 2 Djangos in that mix. So
I
one
only
was
played
a
one, and it was the Ebala Django Trooper deck.
yes. Yeah, the other flavor I played was with Phasma.
Oh wow. That 4 damage is definitely going to hurt. I think Luke is actually in a really good position, though. His opponent doesn't have the battlefield, so he doesn't really have a great opportunity for removal. So Luke can sort of just do whatever he wants. And with the dice showing the way that they are, that could potentially be a lot.
I think I would have left the lightsaber on its special side for that reroll.
Yeah, I think I would have too. I wouldn't want that to come up as shields or resources, um, and actually probably not even its damage side.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 2 damage is about the best he can expect out of that. The best thing he could have gotten was just 1 less action to get that damage in.
And it looks like the Mind Probe grabbed a one with the Force and a Force training. Okay, Willpower is not a great pickup, but it's decent. And Luke does have 5 damage showing on board. Oh, I was mistaken. The Poe Ray player actually has the battlefield.
Oh yeah, that's a weird positioning.
Yeah.
Those some gigantic upgrades on Ray.
Yeah, it only seems to get better for Ray right now. With only 2 damage and a Mind Probe and a 1 with the Force on her, it's hard to deal with those dice. I think a Force Throw would potentially be really good for Luke right now. Using it binds all things in the 2 resources to get that out there. It would help mitigate some of the damage he's been taking, or he's expecting to be taking, and also get some onto Ray and hopefully get rid of that Mind Probe and make that 1 with the Force a little bit less useful.
Yeah, I really expect an upgrade play of some sort to be the first thing that Luke does. And that's about as much of a kitted out Ray as you can ask for.
Yeah, no kidding. She
Um,
just needs a Force Throw, and she's like at the ideal essentially. And that is a very brutal Mind Probe. And with a lot of damage on board still, Ray rolled really well that activation.
this is why I think the Poe Ray deck is so scary. Is Ray's dice not that great, but she's sitting on that 10 health, and with her action economy, you can get upgrades on her quickly, and do something with her dice before she dies. And if you don't take her down quickly, having that action economy against you the entire game, if you focus Poe first, that's usually enough to lose it for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think one of the big advantages of the Poe Ray list is you've got 4 dice on 2 characters, which is always phenomenal. And it's hard for your opponent to choose a target because if they go after Poe, you get a Ray that looks like this, and it's just devastating. If they go after Ray, then you have Poe who's using the his special sides to mind probe you and force throw you and or with the force to focus things, and it's there's no good target, unfortunately.
Yeah, and with the willpowers, the Duggins, the field medics, it's very, very tanky deck.
Yeah, it looks like it only has 22 hit points, but I mean the reality is by the end of the game it's probably soaking up a lot more than that.
We've seen
uh,
defensive position on both sides, take off quite a bit of damage for each side here.
yeah, for sure. This actually looks like a pretty decent start to the round for Luke Bar. Having that force throw on its special side means that you can be a little bit more flexible with what you want to do and make your opponents feel bad for rolling well. I also think it's very telling that the Akbar. Oh wow, that's rough.
I think that is that it for Luke.
Yeah, that is it for Luke, and that is no good. I think that's probably the one side that GameSlayer didn't want Akbar to show up on for that exact reason. And Akbar didn't get any two focus in these last couple of games, and it's kind of one of the issues with Luke Bar. If Akbar doesn't do what he's meant to do, Luke's dice, sometimes just don't show up, and it could lead to situations like this.
That's about how I roll in a typical game.
Yeah, blanks all around.
So I like the dug in discard. I really do not like carrying a card into the next round that I can't use. And since Luke Bar claimed, it's basically a dead card in your hand for an entire round. Better just
Yeah,
to
unless
discard it and do that reroll.
unless you're really desperate, I think if you lose the battlefield, you just get rid of defensive position and dug in. Maybe less so defensive position if you feel like you're definitely going to get the battlefield next time, but um, if you're not going to use it and you're not going to be able to use it, and it's a dead card, you might as well get rid of it.
So Raze definitely has enough damage here to end the game in one roll. And instead finds a lot of interesting sides.
Yeah, more or less. I somehow don't anticipate Akbar doing the whole dual wielding raised staff and lightsabers for the game this time, though.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how little damage has stuck on Poe Ray this game.
Yikes.
So that leaves Akbar with 1 health.
Against a insurmountable tide, it looks like. And that'll do it.
That's enough.
I think it was a very valiant effort, though, by Luke Barr. Uh, there was definitely some um, issues getting damage out for these last couple of games. And again, when Akbar doesn't roll those two focus, it can be hard to actually do things.
It was good to see it piloted and roll so well that first match. Just to see like a good example of Luke Bar doing what it should do.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely exciting to see um, it piloted as well as it was, and to see it succeed this far.
All right, guys. So that was the semifinals. The finals will be up here. I think I'll have the players do. That was round 3, right? Game 3.
Yeah. Yep. That
Okay.
was. Yep.
All right. Let's give the players 10 minutes to shake off these intense matches, and we'll get back together at 3:15 for the finals. Hey, for those of you that don't know how long a typical bathroom break is, that was 3:15 Pacific time. All right, so they are getting set up for the finals match.
I will say that it feels good knowing that my 2 losses for the day were against the 2 finalists.
Yeah, that takes a little bit of the sting out for sure.
Yeah, just a little bit. So it'll be very interesting to see how this works out. These are 2 really fast decks. I think my instinct is to give the edge to Vader Raider just because it has so much more mitigation and ways to deal with Poe and Ray's dice. Um, and I also think it just has the potential to be so much more bursty. But we'll see what happens because Poe Ray has lots of cool things that they can do just by the nature of having those specials. And as we saw, Ray can be a beast.
Yeah, I've seen close games on this matchup a few times. Locally, a lot of Vader Raider. There's always been a lot of Vader Raider here in Portland. And over the past couple of weeks, Poe Ray has become one of the popular decks to play. It definitely feels good to be able to include some of those big cards that you just usually don't get to see in play. You know, collecting dust in your collection.
Yeah, absolutely. Even locally, Vader Raider is like omnipresent, obviously. But Poe Ray, I haven't seen a lot of. And when I first started hearing about the deck on Discord, I was like, "This is awful. There's no way that this could possibly work." Like Ray is so awkward, but it's really good. It's really fast and it has a lot of oomph.
Yeah, I think it's the one matchup that I think, and much more so than even Han Ray, that makes Ray shine. Um, Her awful dice stop seeming awful. She becomes just so beastly by the time she goes down. Um, yeah,
Yep, absolutely. Her modified melee side still kind of sucks, unfortunately. Like that typically ends up being a blank, but sometimes it's really good. Uh, and when you get those opportunities, it feels great. But mostly, Ray is it's so much easier to throw a bunch of things on Ray and watch her really excel.
so I don't know if people in the stream, if they can see the numbers on the dice right now. If I should zoom in a little bit more.
You could probably give it a couple clicks forward.
Do I dare grab Odd Ritter's discard pile and drag it into focus a little bit better? So Vader definitely doing his thing with, rolling those natural threes.
Yeah, but Poe got 2 twos, and that initial 4 damage in the first round is going to be really good. And it looks like he's going to do another 3 if Vader can't mitigate it.
Yeah, that's looking like some good Vader damage and some good Poe Ray damage. 6 to 7. That's good because I didn't want to be here for a very long time. Fast match.
Wow, really good start for both players. 7 damage on both sides. I'm pretty much expecting force throws and mind probes to be the big winners this game. Ooh, that's a really good roll too. Both players are going to be running both of those, and I assume that's going to be the way that they're both going to look to close out the game. So Vader's on the precipice of death, and with Rey having the potential to roll out now, we could see Vader go down very, very quickly. And Oddrider hasn't used any mitigation yet. No electroshocks, no isolations, nothing like that. So that could potentially be big, but it looks like he still doesn't have anything to throw out there. Oh, Feel Your Anger will do some things, though. Wow, that's a really, really good grab. Discarding the Force Strike is like getting rid of a free 3 damage, essentially, on Vader's side. And that reduced his damage by a significant margin for this turn. Okay, Outrider's probably looking for a couple of rerolls here to see if he can just kill off the Poe outright. Discarding the Mind Probe is interesting. He must have either another Mind Probe or a Force Throw in his hand that he feels will be more impactful than the Mind Probe he just discarded. That or that's a really awkward discard to reroll because if he now has nothing in his hand to use with Sith Holocron, that never feels good. I think Oddrider is determining whether or not he wants to reroll all this again. So he did, interestingly enough, value the force throw over the Mind Probe. I can definitely understand that, considering the fact that he's sort of looking to mitigate Poe and Rey's damage more so now than ever, because he's got so much damage on Vader right now. But it's also interesting because throwing out Mind Probe would have given him the potential to kill Poe, and completely irrelevant because he rolls the 3 damage and does kill off Poe anyways. So really, really fast start for both these players. Once Vader goes down, though, if Rey can kill him off pretty quickly here, the Raider doesn't really hold up very well against Rey, especially with both of these upgrades on her. 4 dice is generally better than just 1. Looks like we might be getting a lightsaber. That'll increase the damage output that Rey can put onto this Vader. And unfortunately, a really bad roll. Lots of modified sides and nothing to throw at Vader.
Yeah, I'm really shocked that Rey didn't just finish him off there.
Yeah, it's there are a lot of die sides that could have killed them off, but unfortunately, none of them came out. And actually, that Force Choke special is really good because it helps Vader stay alive, essentially.
Yeah, Rey only has the possibility here of 3 unmodified sides.
Oh, I'm actually surprised he re-rolled the Force Training.
Oh, this is a beautiful roll.
Really doesn't matter.
Such a great roll. And let me zoom a little bit here. Yeah, he's got the 1 resource to pay for one of those cost sides.
And it's just really awkward for Vader because he can't Force Choke anything and get rid of stuff that will keep him alive.
Yeah, while he's thinking about that, I'll complain about that dang timer tool. Again, just deciding to rotate for no reason.
It's like you look away and it just decides to sneak off onto its face.
I picked it up to bring it a little bit more in frame, and it rotated itself. So I think that's probably the play I would have gone with. It forces Rey to use 2 actions to resolve all of her damage.
Yep, it also makes it a lot more difficult to use the Rebel War Room in order to resolve a die for free. Still a rough situation to be in as the Tusken Raider, though.
Oh, somebody in the chat just pointed out something real quick.
Oh, wow, yes. Force Training was definitely overwritten. Which doesn't influence too much, it just reduces the damage by 2. But yeah, that was definitely a good catch.
So the they that you were talking about in chat, was that the players or the commentators that just aren't paying close enough attention?
Yeah, I know, right? A little bit of both.
So at this point, I mean, shocking statement here. I give this to Rey.
If Rey spends like a churn not rolling well, the Raider has potential to come back. But there's not really a lot of upgrades that can be put on Raider anymore. There's no force training because Vader's gone. No Mercy doesn't really do much unless he's got a full hand. Um, Actually, that might be his only out right now is to No Mercy, a lot of damage with the Raider die, and just coast on the backup muscles.
Yeah, there was that 4 backup muscle damage. Definitely a little bit scary. Um, Ray's immediately going to be to 6 damage. Well, not 6 damage, I guess 5 damage next turn. Just given the backup muscle.
Yeah, it definitely puts Ray on a clock. And basically, Outrider's position right now is um, do my backup muscle damage and try to mitigate Ray's dice as much as I can until my backup muscles do their work.
I think that force training errant die is causing a little bit of debate about the state of play.
Yeah, let me actually unmute Tabletop Simulator real quick. Okay, so it sounds like Odd wanted to then remove um, the 2 damage side rather, or the hold up blaster instead of the lightsaber. I'm not entirely sure what the sequence of events there was. They stopped talking the moment I unmuted Tabletop Simulator.
So pretty much the best roll Ray could expect there, and pretty cold roll by the Tusken Raider.
Oh well, she could have gotten the damage side and then used Rebel War Room. But I think in that case, Odd probably would have just claimed.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
And that's a really good result for him. So speaking of that clock, the Tusken Raider essentially just needs 1 damage side, and he can pull this out.
So this is where he's probably really praying for a hold up blaster on Ray.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that 3 damage side on the Tusken Raider.
That's a good way to deal with having low health.
Yeah, the only thing that takes away from that is those awful backup muscles.
It still puts Ray on the clock, but it makes it impossible for Raider to kill her this turn. So it gives her a little bit more time to work with, and that's game if the Raider can't deal with it. No opportunity for he doesn't like you. There's still an isolation. Feel your anger and electroshock that can be used here. But I think if Odd had any of those, he would have thrown them out already. So this is kind of an awkward situation. Maybe he's got the he doesn't like you, and he's rolling out the die in order to use that.
Yeah, I think at this point I would just immediately take the saber damage just to make sure it doesn't get messed with. I'm curious too if the Ray is sitting on some field medics. I don't want to search his library on the Twitch feed, but I can't recall if we've seen those yet in this match. Good call on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I mean, lightsaber is basically your best damage die right now. I'm not sure if it was the best decision to resolve the damage, especially considering you could re-roll raised dice and get the modifier. And basically, he's got 3 opportunities to re-roll into the melee damage on Ray, or he loses.
Not sure what that was. Somebody pointed out in the stream that doing the damage first, the melee damage first, was a good move because the raider was showing a shield side. So if it was basically
I gotcha.
yeah.
Determining whether, yeah, I gotcha.
So he basically mitigated the damage still, but had to use a card the way that the Ray player played it. Oof.
Ooh, that's rough.
I'm still surprised that there's not a field medic in hand at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just re-roll 3 times here, unless you have the field medic, and hope you win the game. Otherwise, you get rid of the cards in order to pick up the field medic. Which he doesn't have that option now, so it looks like he's just going to re-roll and pray for the 1 for 6.
Oh!
Oh, there it goes.
That was great. So I love games where it really does come down to one turn. If you weren't keeping track on Twitch, if that hadn't landed there, Oddritter would have started the next round and just immediately backup muscled the Ray to win the game.
I don't know. It did feel pretty risky though to give him the battlefield when he had the backup muscle. I think you could have dug for field medic and had a better position, or potentially look for some other upgrade, or just roll out Ray and get damage in before your opponent can do anything. But it worked out.
Yeah, it's basically, what do you want to take a risk on? A dice roll or a card draw? And that's
Right.
that's
Exactly.
a hard call. So that's I think the third time we've seen Oddritter do an entire hand mulligan today.
Yeah, I think he's maybe just like searching for the holocron. I again, it's a little bit awkward since we don't have the black color view, but he does have a holocron and he starts off with it. So I mean, I guess mulliganing 5 was a good decision in the end.
So I assume we're going to see 6 damage from Vader and a Holocron special, because that's what Vader does.
Yeah, more or less. Nowhere
Or,
near as
yeah.
devastating as that.
It's basically the best thing that could have happened to Poe-Rey.
He must have some. Poe-Rey must have some really good cards in his hand because getting rid of hit and run is an interesting decision. Also, Kilvin, we can see their hands if we Pearl ends up setting himself to the black player, but then you can kind of stream snipe and see what each player has in their hand, which would be bad.
Yeah, even the most paranoid part about me is, you've got a friend watching. We put like a 5 or 10 minute delay on the stream, and that's still, plenty of information to feed to a buddy about, what's going on, or what kind of plays do they do. Do they hold on to a certain card for a long time? I'd rather just, play it safe.
Okay, so getting rid of those 2 resources is actually pretty big. Kind of surprised he ended up taking them before Vader re-rolled.
And to the card point, oh man, it kills me when I'm sitting on some good cards. I've got my poker face on at the game shop at a tournament, and somebody walks behind me and looks at my hand and goes like, "Oh man, amazing," or
Yeah,
gives me the pat on the
exactly.
back, and I'm like, "Oh, come on."
Or worse, when they look at your hand, they're like, "Oh man, that's rough," and your opponent like gets a smile on their face, like, he's got no mitigation."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, mystery makes the card game. Two discard.
Yeah, this is a good start for both players. It looks like.
So what do we get?
Ooh, that's actually pretty big. The Holdout Blaster is an enormous loss for the Rey player.
And with how big Vader's dice are, that force throws really hurts.
Yep, absolutely. Even if Ray's not here, you could always use the post special to throw a die into Raider's face or Vader's face. I keep doing that. Like whenever I type Vader now, I always add an I after the A because Vader Raider is terrible.
I'm doing the same thing too.
Oof, that was a rough roll. Just sort of the issue with Ray, unfortunately. You get rolls like that where you just roll out your dice and it's like I can't do anything with this. Actually, we shouldn't have a force training here.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, overwriting does not work that way. A fairly strong play.
Yeah, just getting rid of the Mind Probe die and then not taking that 3 damage is pretty huge. Man, that Holocron is rolling really well.
So I'm curious if he's discarding. Okay. So he's resolving the Holocron with the discard. What's better than Mind Probe? Force throw. So a little bit more defensive than the Mind Probe play.
Yep, and Mind Probe has the sort of complication of not being usable when your opponent is discarding and getting rid of as many cards as the Poe tends to do. So I totally understand the desire to mitigate damage rather than dealing it, especially if the Mind Probe ends up not hitting as hard as you'd like it to.
Interesting. So that he had decided not to resolve the Mind Probe after rolling it out, which he would have had the opportunity to because he was resolving specials. So I wonder what he was waiting for.
Actually, he discarded with the Tusken Raiders ability, so he can't then resolve the Force Throw because he's resolving off the activation for Tusken.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
And that's why
Yep.
Force Throw is good.
uh,
Oop, and then okay, yeah, there we go. So first Poe special we've seen. Something tells me that last card in his hand isn't going to be thrown out with it, though, unfortunately.
so I think this is going to be just a claim and resolve that 3. Oh no, pay for it.
I think Oddrider understands that his opponent wants to keep taking actions and is willing to bank on the fact that he'll get at least one more in before he has to claim. Um, I also want to point out that it was actually really intelligent for him to stop what he was doing on the board to put down the Holocron once Rey came up as discard. Like that was very smart play on his part, so he didn't lose the uh, economy benefit of Holocron.
Again, just the worst rolls off of Rey.
And really good rolls on Vader. Holy crap.
So potential 9 damage, probably get changed down to 8 at the very least. Good card to be able to use.
Yep, maybe he has a Force Throw in his hand or, I don't know, something.
Yeah, at the very least he can, discard right here to do a big reroll, kind of fix some of his dice since none of them can be used right now, and then that way that Mind Probe, loses even more damage.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that Ray didn't roll that special side on the force throw. That would have gotten rid of a lot of the complications. Also, the lightsaber die is going away this time.
So I wonder, defensive or offensive comlink play here?
Definitely re-rolling the Vader's dice. Oh wow, I'm actually pretty shocked.
I'm pretty shocked too.
I don't know. Oh, well, that's good. I wasn't sure if he was looking for a post special or one of these, or the force throw special. But that really works. That is a 6 damage swing essentially, and the mind probe went from doing 4 damage to 2 damage. It's interesting. It doesn't look like Poe Ray is running field medic. We haven't seen, and we haven't seen any supports either. There's no Black One, no launch bay.
Yeah, it's definitely a very affordable resource, Poe Ray deck. Definitely wanting to be able to pay to get some of those supports out, so just throwing them out with Poe all the time.
And that's actually a really interesting decision, using Isolate to get rid of the 1 damage on Ray. Typically, you're looking to get rid of more on character sides. Does that holocron roll anything other than specials? Holy crap.
So yeah, we've seen it rolled 4 times and 4 specials. Yeah, it's a tough call for what I would do here. Use the force throw and do the 3 damage for free and then get that resource, or search for something better on the lightsaber. If he doesn't need to use that holocron special, rerolling it too with the lightsaber gives him a chance at a focus.
Yeah, I think it's worth at least 1 reroll depending on what you have in your hand to get rid of the lightsaber and the holocron, just to see what you might be able to pick up on those.
Oof.
That's rough. I don't think he has an upgrade in his hand. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think at this point you're looking for the special side. Oop! I think he took 1 too many resource.
I think he fixed
Yep,
it.
okay.
Yeah, but so now we know that Vader Raider, he's sitting out there with no isolations. That really reduces his ability to like stop anything that Poe might be throwing at him on this what I assume is going to be a quick activation.
Yeah, I mean, he also got rid of deflect, which is really good against Poe, and potentially gets rid of the force throw as well.
And this is why a character with really terrible dice finds its way into decks. You know, I think. Oh, interesting. I really thought he would have rolled out Poe just to make sure that he didn't die.
Yeah, but alternatively, when you roll that,
Yeah.
that special side on the Force throw, it just feels really good.
So Vader's got 2 dice that can. Oh, and he finds it.
Wow, wow, wow. That is a good roll. That'll do work. In this case, it definitely feels good to not have rolled out Poe.
Yeah, definitely saved him an action there.
I think Ray's looking for a reroll here. I think the shields are good, but you really want to kill Vader and get those dice off the board. But he opts for the shields instead.
It's gonna have a 2 cost for 3 damage.
It's interesting, especially considering Vader hasn't been rolled out yet. Like, that wasn't necessary.
Yeah, that actually makes the shield play feel really good.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he basically got 1 damage, and it took a dice and 2 resources and a card to make it happen.
I think Oddrider is, with that in perspective, I think he's just looking to claim. I don't think he wants to roll out Vader with that force throw out there. Or he can just do that. And Oddrider elects not to make his opponent discard because of Mind Probe.
And Vader finding nothing because there's no resources to use that range damage.
Yep, but if he just claims here,
Good point.
yeah, I mean, I think you take the greedy rerolls just because Vader's dice are so good.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, Ray right now, you've got a 1 in 6 chance of finding damage, and he's going to go for it.
Oof.
And now Oddritter, I don't know, it seems like he probably claims. I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, I think in this case, you take the claim and just do the damage because you're so far ahead of the Ray right now that it's not a priority for you to actually use those Vader dice. Especially after she's discarded both, one with the forces and no longer has a hand to do anything with.
Yeah, I think as Kylo, I would have claimed, taken that resource in my claim, just to deny that guaranteed 3 damage, and force some discards.
Yeah, the reroll was especially greedy, just because you're looking for one side out of three, or not three, 6 for 3 damage.
So this puts the game to within 1 point if he doesn't figure out a way to play a card. And datapad to win. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with our Twitch stream. Those were some pretty greedy rerolls. And Ray with her action economy.
Yep, really good. Not quite as beefy as she could be, but I mean those are some good upgrades on Ray. And it reduced the damage on Mind Probe by 2, which is always great.
And she's showing like two of the best upgrades to have out there with a data pad. Just given its
Oh yeah,
ability
for sure.
to, quickly resolve those special sides. Oh, it's so unlucky. Oh man, the Ray rolls this game have just been just horrendous.
Man, if only Luke's lightsaber was as good as Kylo's lightsaber. So Vader's actually potentially dead here with the claim.
So you've got two sides that could show up, and yep, they do.
Oh wow.
Man, that Raider took out two characters this game.
Yep, it was definitely a beatdown.
And that Raider was acting like Django usually acts, so so quick on the ball, smacking him with his little stick there.
Really smart on Rider's part though, putting all the upgrades on the Tusken Raider. I mean, obviously that's only practical when you roll the Sith Holocron on his special side as many times as he did. But making sure not to bank on Vader with all of his upgrades was really smart, because if Rey didn't roll as horrendously, Vader would have been dead.
I think at this point it's a roll again, to see
Oh,
who
really?
takes
I
it.
thought the last time with Game Slayer and Kylo Ren, we had them choose.
That's for game 2, not game 3. Did they go 3 games last time?
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, while they mulligan, let me pull up the tournament rules and
Yeah,
see if we can't find it.
The player with the highest total chooses which battlefield to fight on. In each game after the first of a best of 3 match, the player who lost the previous game chooses which battlefield to fight on.
All right. So it's Kylo's choice. So they drew 6. Without finding something in the rules, I would just say put back in deck and shuffle.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good way to handle it. think this game, in terms of Poe Ray's strategy, I think they're just looking for more of an impact from Poe. Last game, he didn't really roll much in the way of damage or specials, and that kind of leads to a largely unfortunate situation where you're not putting out much of anything. This is, of course, always a great start with Ray.
Yeah, I really enjoy the and not a terrible loss getting that isolation out early game. But the round one, turn one, Ray with a holdout blaster, rolling out Han Solo and getting that to disrupt is just really fun to see in play.
But also getting a force throw on the first turn is pretty good too.
Not too shabby.
Holocron, definitely not something good to see as a Poe Ray player. Having your opponent get that consistently in all 3 games is occasionally pretty devastating.
Those must be some good cards in hand to be getting rid of the lightsaber so early. And okay, the 5th time we've seen the holocron. Actually, I think we saw it roll once and he didn't resolve it, so that's the 6th time in a row that holocron's rolled a special side.
And he's got the mind probe too. That's brutal. I mean, this is why Vader Raider is and oh my god, that's just disgusting. This is why Blue Villains is so good. You throw out the holocrons, and when you get the special sides, it just you've got a 4-cost upgrade for free. And I honestly think Poe Ray had a really good first round, but when that sort of stuff happens, it's difficult to come back from it.
We might need to check that dice.
Oh my god. Outrider's got some kind of divine intervention on his back. Oh my god, that's devastating.
So the chances of that dice rolling that many special sides in a row has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros before it even gets to a number. So slim odds. So somebody in the chat's pointing out that Ray's force throw special last round could have thrown the holocron special back at Vader for no damage, which would have kept him from getting that mind probe out quite so early.
Yeah, but I think as the Poe Ray player, you kind of I don't know. Having 2 mind probes in the opening hand sort of rare and not the norm. I think I would have just assumed that it was a blank side for my opponent and went with it. Plus, he got rid of the 3 damage on the Raider, I believe, and threw it at Vader. Yeah, to get rid of the shields. So he saved himself 3 damage.
Yeah, these are just some very, very lucky rolls on Oddritter's part. So I think he's going with the 3 focus side.
Yep, and doing a lot of business.
Yeah, and since he's resolving specials, he can keep going here.
So it looks like he's going to deal the 3 damage. Then he's going to get the opportunity to force throw another 3 damage, and then next turn deal 3 damage, plus whatever the additional force throw gets. That's pretty huge. 9 in one turn on Raider is really nice.
Yeah, not too shabby. Hmm. Not a bad side to show.
Yeah, definitely. Potentially gets rid of mitigation in Vader's hand. And Outrider, I think, very smartly takes the battlefield instead of risking taking more damage.
So, backup muscle. That's a good catch.
Yeah, that's a really good card to grab. It's definitely an interesting decision to claim the battlefield on Outrider's part, though. You could have potentially done a fair amount of damage with a couple of rerolls you had, but then on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you get a little bit unlucky, you only roll 1/3 melee damage side and it gets thrown in your face. That's a pretty good roll, actually.
Yeah, and denying that red side, those, must claim the battlefield in order to do these things, it's a good move against Poe. I think that's one of the first times we've seen that holocron come up not special.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's a great deflect. One of the reasons Vader Raider is so good is because a lot of the control is so oppressive. And we've only seen a electroshock and an isolation from Vader so far. So it's gonna be as he draws into more of his cards, it's gonna start getting rough for Poe Ray to actually resolve their dice. And if he ends up getting a good Feel Your Anger, Poe Ray potentially loses an entire turn.
interesting. So getting that free holocron and taking off a force throw. Or sorry, free holdout blaster.
Yeah, that was definitely a weird decision. I'm not sure how much I agree with that. The holdout blaster goes decently well onto Poe because he's going to die anyways. And I think the Force Throw is just subjectively better than the Hold Up Blaster. Interesting.
At this point, I'm so confused, but I'll roll
Yeah,
with it.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, he might be looking for a good reroll, but tossing that down just to reroll a couple of dice instead of keeping the holdout blaster for next turn seems a little bit janky. Because obviously, I'd rather have a force throw over a holdout blaster and a holdout blaster over a force or over a commune. What is this called? Comlink. Um,
So I guess he's getting action economy because it's the action off of these 2 comm links he's used to get those rerolls, and now he has 2 actions to resolve. So not bad. I think he gets to resolve the damage, the range too. Maybe not. No, that's right.
no,
No
because he just has
ambush.
the one ambush from the holdout blaster. Yeah. But Vader is close to death, and as weird as that play seemed, it appears to have worked out.
That did seem very weird, but yeah, I'm all for it now.
Oddrider's actually kind of in a precarious position here. If he doesn't get the holocron off of the Vader, he's losing 2 upgrades and the potential to give Raider most of the upgrades he has.
So Vader gets to live 1 more turn. Ah, see, I always forget that stupid Emperor's Throne Room.
Yep, that'll do it.
Sneaky, sneaky.
It's really hard to keep track of. You're constantly thinking about the dice on the board, and no, he can only do this much damage, and then somebody says I claim, and your heart sinks. Oh wow, okay, so he gets rid of a use the force and feel your anger. I feel like he's digging for another holocron that I can put onto the Raider in order to get more upgrades on him.
Yeah, the Feel Your Anger discard's an interesting play, just given how defensive it can be.
Yeah, on one hand I understand it. On the other hand, at worst it tends to be like a one to remove 1 die. But if your opponent rolls a lot of blanks, it ends their turn essentially. And there's one. Mind probe special? No, absolutely nothing, as a matter of fact.
Hold up, Blaster. Oh no.
I think he's out of hold up blasters, right? He used 2 of them.
He's discarded 2 already?
Yeah, I think so. 1 at the beginning and 1 just then with that sequence of discards. So Outrider is actually pretty far away from killing this Poe, and obviously really far away from killing Ray. He needs another backup muscle or a holocron in order to really get going and eke out an advantage in this game.
Yeah, that crazy play was just a huge swing. Is this going to be another deflect? Oh, nope.
Nope, defensive position. Oof, that hurts. He gets even further away from killing the Poe.
Even with another backup muscle, I don't see this Raider surviving, 2 more rounds. Not with this much dice on the board.
Yeah, I think this has become a foregone conclusion. Just because without, even if he gets the backup muscle and another holocron, he still needs to find uh, upgrades. I think he has a couple of force trainings left in his deck, and a force throw that he can put onto the Tusken Raider. But at that point, you're looking for really specific cards in your deck in order to win.
Not a bad roll.
Yeah, that hurts. 4 damage on board.
Yeah, 4 damage and a solid start to the next turn. And
Lots of blanks.
that's the second. I think last round he started out with 2 blanks.
Yeah. And it sounds like Outriders is conceding. I think he understands where everything is at. Really good play from both players, though. I have a newfound appreciation for Comlink. I really didn't highly rate that card, but apparently it's pretty nutty with Ray. And to add insult to injury, another Mind Probe comes out.
I'm a little confused at how he got that 6 damage. But that's game. All right.
All right,
Well,
that was a fun series of games.
yeah. Thanks for commentating this with me, Lassie, and for everybody out there. Um, my handle's Pearl Yeti. I'll be running this same tournament next month, and if it doesn't look like we'll have boosters for prize support, I've got some other ideas of things to whip together that'll be some nice prizes for people that actually play this game in a physical form and not just on Tabletop Simulator. So I'll post that well in advance on Reddit and on the Facebook groups. So look for that.
And big shout out to you for running all this stuff. Obviously, tons of work wrangling a bunch of nerds together to play some dice. But thank you very much for running everything and keeping it all organized.
Yeah, it's been fun. So and everybody that's quasi local Portland too, you should head up here and play some games in our local game stores. So good scene out here. All right,
Take it easy, man.
you too.